Okay, I'd like to call our special meeting of the La Crosse Common Council to order. We do have, it looks like quorum present. I know Council Member Podesky is excused. Our first item on the agenda is the suspension of the rules, which does require a 2/3 vote. And I see there's a motion made by Council President Gall, seconded by Council Member Menninger to suspend the rules. That's because of the short circuit and special meeting. So I'll let Nikki get that up on the board, and then please go ahead and cast your vote. Again, the motion is to suspend the rules. Okay, that motion carries by a unanimous vote. And so we are on then to our one and only agenda item, which is item number 19-1437, which is a resolution approving the acquisition of property interests at 621 3rd Street North. The vote out of the Special Finance and Personnel Committee meeting was to refer this to the upcoming October 10th council meeting, and I see a motion has been made by Council Member Menninger, seconded by Council Member Ostrom to refer. Is there any discussion on that? I would recognize Council Member Kalo to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. This property is in my district, and when this first came out, I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of concerns. I spoke to a lot of people today regarding this property, and I will probably vote for the referral just for those council members who feel like they need more time. And since we have that week, I will respect that. But my feelings after I have considered it, and it was not an easy decision, is that I am an entrepreneur, and I probably am a risk taker. And I see a long-term gain from purchasing this property, and I put my trust in the planning department and the mayor, and I'm comfortable at this point. I may find something out in the next week that changes my mind, but I was going to vote for this purchase, but since we have another week, I think it's good to make sure everyone gets to have all their questions answered. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? I would recognize Councilmember Slesnikow.
I just want to echo Councilmember Kalo's comments. I thought it was a very vigorous. Being new to council and seeing a conversation like this is eye-opening, but it's good to see that there are a number of opinions and a number of different discussions, and it's great that we have the opportunity to wait 1 week so we can make sure that everyone is informed as much as possible before moving forward with a vote next week. So I appreciate and I will be voting for the referral. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would recognize Council President Gall.
Thanks. Tim or Mayor, if I would suggest, I think the last thing the planning needs or anybody on staff needs is to have 13 council members calling with a whole ton of questions, which are probably going to be duplicated effort. If I may, I would suggest that you may want to, I'm pretty sure you got all the questions or most of them that we had this evening, and you might want to run them through staff. And if they could, give them a day or so, give them until Monday to send us some answers out as best they can. And then if there's anything that we need to ask them to fill in the blanks, I think that would be great. But I think if we monopolize their time with 13 different people trying to get answers to a variety of questions, it'll probably be detrimental to actually getting those answers. So I would make that suggestion and again urge everybody to refer this evening.
Yeah, thank you. And I would just, to summarize at least the discussion that I heard, the concerns about the billboard lease and just clarification on where we're at in the terms, as well as any cost or, the steps for if that billboard is going to be removed, verifying the property condition report, as well as the environmental contamination in and around that area, the retaining wall with the property to the south, as well as, and I think the conversation that Jason did provide, I mean, we are aware of some of those foundation issues, but we will try to gather as much information on that for next week as well, and try to get that to you so that you've got that ahead of time. I believe that was the other than just kind of the general whether we want to take this risk or not. That was what I had written down for questions.
Tim, if I could ask for one more thing on there, the map, he sent us out a map. One of them I had in color, and the other one was black and white, and that's from I believe, from the City Vision, the
master plan.
Yeah. If planning could, one thing, I was a bit confused by the plan, and what I'd like to see is if they could designate right on the diagram they sent us exactly what piece we're talking about, because Jessica brought up that information about having to buy the other half of the block or whatever, and I wasn't really to be able to discern that from the information we had. So if they could kind of box that out for us and say, okay, this is exactly what we're talking about, it would be helpful to me at least, and I'd appreciate that.
We will do that. I will just let you know, because I'm pretty familiar with that plan. It showed that the streets and the alignment of right-of-way are different today compared to what that master plan showed. And we would not be, to answer the question, the city is not interested in purchasing the property owned by GECU. That's a very successful and viable use, and they should continue doing what they're doing. Our area of where we're trying to work on redevelopment goes to the west, which is the Excel property. The city has the Excel lot that we use for a parking lot, and then our larger discussions about the fest grounds and kind of that general vicinity. But we can try to provide a bit more detail on how the master plan syncs up with what's on the ground. Next, I would recognize Councilmember Newmeister.
Thank you, Your Honor. Forgive me if I didn't hear this correct or not, but did you say, we all understand the condition report, but did you say on the offer you are going to have the building inspected by an inspector? And if not, is that something you want to look at? 99% of people that purchase anything have it inspected by a professional that may bring out some serious items and issues that we're unaware of.
Thank you, Councilmember Newmeister. The way that we have this written is the environmental evaluation contingency and a 45-day basically right to cure or a contingency satisfaction. So we are in contact with a vendor to provide us with that report, which would involve an inspection, but we're probably limited as far as any type of significant structural analysis or anything like that. It would be a very cursory review. I know that, and I said that earlier, the staff did go through the building, but that's what we have for you this evening as far as a report. Go ahead.
I'm still a little. So there is no. You're purchasing the building as is, without an inspection, other than
correct.
Other than the contamination part
correct.
of it, if there's contamination.
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Next, I'd recognize Councilmember Olson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for taking questions. I'd like to add to that list the question of if the property were raised and reconstructed, what would be the minimum setback required by the DOT from 3rd Street or Copeland, that street there. An additional question I have is, would any of the following items trigger a mandatory remediation action? The first one would be is if there was a problem on the property owner's side of the line with either the water or the sewer. To my knowledge, those have not been inspected either. That was per Jason Gilman, a phone conversation a couple of days ago. And the next one would be is in the case of that retaining wall, not only who is responsible for maintaining it or replacing it when eventually that wood's going to rot out, but also if replacing it would trigger the necessity to perform remediation on the site at that point, and then what the cost estimate would be in terms of removing that concrete, that 4-foot concrete slab, because I don't see us trying to build on top of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? I see no other requests to speak here on the board, so the motion on the floor is to refer this item to the October 10th council meeting with no recommendation. And I believe I've recorded all of your questions, and we'll pass that along to staff. So please go ahead and cast your vote. Again, the motion is to refer to October 10th. The motion carries by a vote of 11-0. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I heard a motion by Council President Gall, seconded by Councilmember Menninger to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all.